I must say here that I think Pakistan needs the parliamentary system. I don't see Pakistan existing in its current shape in any other form of government. I'm a big proponent of this system because of our provincial diversities, of our ethnic diversities. I think this constitution addresses and makes everybody a part of that system. So that is very critical to me, at least, that this parliamentary system stay. But we definitely need a lot of amendments, the relationship with the military. As you said, is it a security state? I don't think so. It was conceived as a social state.
But it's become one, hasn't it, over the years?
It's become over the period of time. The security imperatives have taken over. So I think that's where we need to go. We need massive reform. Pakistan, in every sphere of its system of governance, in its legal system, in its relationships between the stakeholders in governance, it needs massive reform. And that's why we had the Reimagining platform, where we thought we'd be able to kind of address the issues of the country and look for solutions.
Okay, thank you. So that's a broad answer, and I'll turn to you, Miftah, for something more specific. You've been finance minister. You've doled out large chunks of money to the institution that dominates Pakistan. So what role do you reimagine for the military?
Thank you, Jugnu. So in this 1.5 years that Shahid Abbasi and myself and Mustafa Nawaz Khokar have been doing reimagining Pakistan, one of the questions that Mustafa asks in every session, only Mustafa asks, but I will repeat this because Mustafa is not here, and he says we have to answer the central question in Pakistan, the central dilemma, that who is supposed to run Pakistan? Is it civilians or the military? That question has not been answered. And so, as Shahid Abbasi keeps saying, the issue is not so much the constitution, the issue is not following the constitution. That institutions and whoever gets the chance, whether it's politicians, whether it's ulama ikram, whether it's media, whether it's businesses, provincial governments, federal government, whoever gets a chance, they try to not live within the constitution. Ours is a society or a constitution that has a lot of mistrust. When you write as many clauses in a constitution, that actually means that the people don't trust each other, so they write every possibility. That's why institutions are important around the world, because you cannot write a contingent contract for every possibility. So you have institutions that ensure that when possibilities arise that you were not originally thought of, that you can resolve those differences. We spell out everything, which is probably not a very helpful thing, but nonetheless we spell out everything because we don't trust each other, the provinces don't trust each other, the provincial people don't trust each other, and even today, if you look at it, we don't have a local government, even though the constitution specifies.
We'll come to all that later, if I may interrupt.
I'll come in 1 second to this. So the question is now that nobody works according to the constitution. That is the problem. In terms of the money, I've been a finance minister and I've had the honor of presenting 2 budgets to the National Assembly of Pakistan. And I was asked this question a few days ago on a podcast as well about the army role. My issue is never with the army's budget. The fact of the matter is that Pakistan spends less than $8 billion on the defense of Pakistan, and we are neighbors of India, which spends more than $64 billion. So we spend $1 for every $8 they spend. Given 2 unsettled borders with East and Afghanistan, there is going to be enough money required to run this defense. The issue really is not the army spending money. The issue is, and people talk about the army spending money because the issue really is the army's ingress in politics. This is what we need to resolve, not so much the money that they get.
Right, so Shahid, how will you resolve that issue? How will you get the constitution, as you say, to be obeyed in letter and spirit? How will you put the genie back in the bottle? how will you take away non-productive privileges of certain institutions that are more powerful than others? And I know this is a touchy subject and we keep dancing around it, but we need concrete answers for this. And Miftah says that we spend much less than India does, but then we make much less than India does. And there are many other heads under which expenses are toted up for the military. How do you visualize the constitution being obeyed and institutions being on the same level as each other so that there's a balance? How do you see that?
The deterioration has been gradual. It's been over a long period of time. So the fix is also a process. You can't have a summary fix, you can't have a fix in one day. But you must at least identify the issues. And how do we, in a collaborative style, we move to fix those issues. And this is what most countries have done. So Pakistan also needs a dialogue. And it's the responsibility of the political leadership to create that dialogue. What has happened in Pakistan over the last, 2 decades or 3 decades, the dialogue has deteriorated into a blame game, into trying to assign blame to who did what. But the bottom line is that it's been, the whole system has failed. So everybody is to blame. So we need to get out of that and look for solutions. That's
but
why
you've been advocating it, sorry to interrupt you, you've been advocating this grand roundtable dialogue for the last year and a half, 2 years, and there have been no takers. So how do you propose to bring people to the table?
So I'm still saying that is the solution. Now you try to get there. You have elections. Will the elections bring, generally elections bring new faces and a new start, but I don't think this election will even do that. So there's a dire need to start a process of healing, a process of dialogue, and try to fix the system. And the economy will be the driver today, the major driver today. Like Miftah has mentioned, if you just look at 2018 and what will happen in the coming budget, and Miftah, correct me if I'm wrong, in 2018 the dollar was around 100 rupees and the debt servicing was 1,500 billion. The defense was 1,700 billion. So $15 billion and $17 billion. This year, the defense will be about 2,500 billion, which is in today's money less than 10 billion. And debt servicing has risen to, probably will go to close to 9,000 billion, which is $30 billion.
We know, we have an idea of these scary statistics, but I want to come back to your original panacea for the ill that besets us. Who do you imagine will sit around this round table that will discuss our issues and move us forward? Who are the stakeholders? Who are the people that you imagine sitting around this table?
The stakeholders.
Let's spell it out. Who are the stakeholders?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. The Constitution defines certain stakeholders. We operate at the fringe of the Constitution. There have been practices of how we run government. So we have to live with that reality. So the stakeholders are very obvious. The stakeholders are the political system, the judicial system, leadership, the political leadership, the judicial leadership, and the military leadership. They are people who affect the system of governance today.
What makes you think that they're listening to you? Because nothing has been done so far.
The
how do you propose to?
The numbers are just put before you.
Okay.
They will drive, if they do not have the sense of urgency today, it will come tomorrow. So it is better to fix the system before you have a collapse than trying to. That is called leadership. Pakistan has had a failure of leadership at the political level, at the judicial level, at the military level.
But then, okay, so there's a failure of leadership. Here we have on my left and on my right, two leaders who have served at the highest echelons of power in Pakistan. You both stepped aside. Why have you both stepped aside? Shouldn't you have continued to struggle for this utopia that you want? Should you not have continued to do that instead of giving up and sitting it out?
Yeah. So we've not stepped aside. We've stepped aside from these elections. I do not believe these elections will give you a solution. Because you have not, today every political party which is out there has been in power at least in the last 2 years. Everybody has been in power the last 2 years. Have they fixed anything? What have they learned in the last few months which will qualify them to fix the problems tomorrow? So that is why we thought we'd sit this one out, and then we will stay in politics and we look for a new path to how we can contribute.
मज़ीद ऐसी वीडियोस देखने के लिए हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन को दबाना न भूलें।